Donald Trump asked about Chris Christie and asked about whether he's actually going to investigate him, as he intimated over the weekend. Here's what he said.
Chris is a slob. Everybody knows it. I know Chris better than anybody in the room. I always felt he was guilty. But what he did is he took the George Washington Bridge, which is very serious. He closed down the George Washington Bridge. And you had medical people, you had ambulances caught up. This thing was closed down. And obviously he knew about it. When I listen to Chris speak his hate, I say, oh, what about the George Washington Bridge? Tell me about the George Washington Bridge. He blamed other people, but he knew all about it. So no, I don't know if they want to look at it. It's not for me. If they want to look at it, they can. You could ask Pam. I think we have other things to do, but I always thought he got away with.
Yo creo que ya nos quedó claro que Trump hará cualquier cosa para desviarnos la atención. Desviarnos la atención de su escándalo con Jeffrey Epstein, de su toma fascista de Washington, D.C., o de su agenda política que ha estado alcanzando niveles históricos de impopularidad en todo el país. Y sí, señores, hará lo que sea, incluso lanzar a su propio partido republicano bajo el autobús. Esto es exactamente lo que hizo. Un nuevo colapso, un berrinche en Truth Social, amenazando con encarcelar a un republicano mientras pierde el control. Antes de que entremos a los detalles sobre este republicano que ahora Trump quiere mandar a la cárcel, empecemos con un demócrata al que siempre Donald Trump ha querido ver tras las rejas, y ese es Adam Schiff, el cual lo expuso públicamente por su uso político del gobierno. Escuchemos.
FBI search of former National Security Advisor and Ambassador John Bolton's home and office. I did have the opportunity to ask the Vice President about this. He rejects the idea that this is political retribution. Do you believe that people need to let this investigation play out and not get ahead of it at this point?
I think this is clearly retribution. I mean, the idea that they just picked John Bolton, a prominent critic of the president, at random. What the president is trying to do here is very systemic and systematic, and that is anyone who stands up to the president, anyone who criticizes the president, anyone who says anything adverse to the president's interests gets the full weight of the federal government brought down on them. So if you're John Bolton, you get your home seized. If you're on the Federal Reserve and you won't lower interest rates, you get threatened with prosecution or with firing. If you're a general, like the head of the Defense Intelligence Agency, and you issue a report, or the agency does, casting doubt on the success of U.S. military strikes on Iranian nuclear facilities, you get fired. If you are the head of the Bureau of Labor Statistics and you give a jobs report that the president doesn't like, you get fired. They're essentially going after any critic, any opposition in an effort to intimidate them. That's what this is about. It's not about Bolton per se. It's about anyone else that, like Bolton, might stand up to the president.
Y es que Donald Trump, al igual que J.D. Vance, han construido su carrera política en base a la victimización. Según él, siempre hay alguien atacándolo, ya sean los demócratas, los medios, que el Departamento de Justicia. Siempre fue la misma historia. Siempre las mismas mentiras. Pero ahora está utilizando el poder del gobierno para atacar a quienes lo critican. Algo que no tiene nada que ver con ser víctima. Y es el autoritarismo puro. Aunque la mayoría de los republicanos actualmente están que guardan silencio, algunos aún se atreven a hablar. Y uno de ellos fue Chris Christie. Y fue suficiente como para que Trump estallara de furia. Veamos esto.
Look, let's face it. The president said earlier in that video you showed, you didn't show this piece, where he said he's the chief federal law enforcement officer in the United States. Donald Trump sees himself as the person who gets to decide everything. And he doesn't care about any separation. In fact, he absolutely rejects the idea that there should be separation between criminal investigations and the politically elected leader of the United States. This is much different than it's ever been run before. But look, let me say candidly to the American people who are watching, you were told this. You were told that this was what he was going to do. And not by me, by Donald Trump during the 2024 campaign. He told you he was going to do this, that he was going to have a Justice Department that acted as his personal legal representation. And that is what they're doing. And J.D. Vance is just, quite frankly, got caught telling the truth because they are running it.
Ok, para dejar algo en claro, señores, no es que Chris Christie sea un héroe, ¿no? Porque pudo haber dicho estas verdades, qué sé yo, hace años, o por lo menos tener la intención de dejarlo claro en los meses de campaña. Pero bueno, esta vez tuvo razón. Y lógico, Donald Trump reaccionó como siempre, acusando a otros de lo que él mismo hace. Dice que los demócratas politizan la justicia, cuando bien sabemos que es él quien está utilizando el sistema judicial, el Departamento de Justicia, para amenazar y amedrentar. En este desvarío que tuvo en Truth Social, Donald Trump llamó a Christie Sloopy Chris y hasta se burló de su aspecto físico. Atacó a periodistas como George Stephanopoulos y terminó sugiriendo que Christie debería ser investigado de nuevo por el caso del cierre del puente George Washington. Lo escribió con su típica hipocresía. Nadie está por encima de la ley. Claro, salvo él mismo, ¿no? Lo irónico es que mientras escribe estas amenazas, Donald Trump sigue cometiendo delitos desde la Casa Blanca. Ha estado vendiendo el tema este de merchandising, que es como vender ropas, zapatos, accesorios, etc., con el mensaje de que quiere un tercer mandato ilegal. Y buscando formas de evitar que lo encierren a él. Pero bueno, no se quedó en el tema de Christie porque también quiere intimidar a cualquiera que se atreva a criticarlo, ya sean políticos, funcionarios, periodistas y ahora hasta conductores de televisión.
Donald Trump asked about Chris Christie and asked about whether he's actually going to investigate him, as he intimated over the weekend. Here's what he said.
Chris is a slob. Everybody knows it. I know Chris better than anybody in the room. I always felt he was guilty. But what he did is he took the George Washington Bridge, which is very serious. He closed down the George Washington Bridge. And you had medical people, you had ambulances caught up. This thing was closed down. And obviously he knew about it. When I listen to Chris speak his hate, I say, oh, what about the George Washington Bridge? Tell me about the George Washington Bridge. He blamed other people, but he knew all about it. So no, I don't know if they want to look at it. It's not for me. If they want to look at it, they can. You could ask Pam. I think we have other things to do, but I always thought he got away with murder. It's my honor this morning to introduce somebody who is a real standout. He's been my friend for many years. He's been a spectacular governor. He's been just a wonderful person and a wonderful, loyal person.
So we cut those two things together because here's Donald Trump saying you always knew that he was guilty and that he had committed a crime there. And, Chris Christie is terrible, but it was only a few short years ago that Chris Christie was wonderful and a great loyalist and a great governor. And he wanted him as a man, a part of his campaign. So there's always a hypocrisy there. As long as you are useful to me, I will keep you close. And as long as you're not useful to me, I will push you away. The question, I guess, Tim, is this more than just a cudgel? Is it more than just intimidation? Is he saying this about Chris Christie just to get Chris Christie to stop, to be quiet? Or is there something there? And can we point to John Bolton as a reason to believe that there is perhaps more to this?
Well, it's definitely intimidation. And I think that it's not just intimidating Chris Christie, though, or trying to, but intimidate other people who might speak out about this. And look, Trump is good at a few certain things. He's good at an insult that you saw there. He's good at picking unsympathetic foes. There's not a huge base of goodwill for Chris Christie or John Bolton, frankly. And I think that Trump knows that. But like the scary part about this is that in both of these cases, like these are long, unless there's something new about John Bolton, I don't think there's any reason to. I think people assume that this is related to the book investigation from a few years ago. But these are old cases that they're bringing back up just to go after political foes and to send a message to people that they shouldn't speak out against this administration, or they might use the Justice Department, the federal government, to go after them. And maybe that won't mean an actual indictment, but being investigated, having your house raided while your wife is there in the morning, like that is punishment in itself. Having to get lawyers, having to defend yourself, that's a punishment in itself. They're doing it purposefully. And I think this goes without saying based on that video you showed, Katie, but just to be explicit about it, there's no imaginable way if John Bolton or Chris Christie had stayed in Donald Trump's good graces and supported him in 2024, that their house would be raided in the case of John Bolton, or that Trump would be floating an investigation against them. He's not doing this to Mark Meadows or the other people from Trump 1.0 who have stayed loyal to him. And so it's obviously on its face a political attack and an intimidation tactic.
Let me tee you up, Heidi, with this from the Wall Street Journal editorial board on Donald Trump's vendetta, talking about the Bolton raid specifically. They say the real offender here is a president who seems to think he can use the powers of his office to run vendettas. We said this was one of the risks of a second Trump term, and it's turning out to be worse than we imagined. Is that the take you believe from your fellow former lawmakers? Do they believe that things are going well? Or are they happy with this, or are they getting nervous?
Well, I don't know what Republicans in the Senate are thinking to allow this to continue. Trump learned the lesson of the last administration, his first term, when he had Bill Barr who put guardrails up. He had people like Gary Cohn who put guardrails up. He had people like Chris Christie who was willing to say no. And when people say no to Trump and he gets his feelings hurt, this is what he does. I think it's really interesting if you think you're going to intimidate Chris Christie. I know a little bit about him, and number one, his IQ points would double or triple the top 3 people right now in the Justice Department, and so I'm sure it's bring it on. Plus, Trump actually tweeted when the unanimous decision came out on behalf Bridgegate, saying there was no there was no prosecution that was appropriate. He said that's a good idea. I think the real danger here that everyone's missing is the frustration the Democrats had with Merrick Garland and how he ran the Justice Department, saying you should have been much more aggressive. How do we put this back? How do we put the genie back in the bottle when you have Trump so blazing, it's brazen what he's doing with the Department of Justice, and there is going to be, again, a norm that's broken, and how do you put it back? And so I think that you can't just look at Donald Trump and say, God, please just get us through the next 3 years. You've got to look at what's the permanent damage to the department.
Aquí es donde entra el punto central. Donald Trump no solo persigue enemigos políticos. Esta cruzada que él tiene en contra de la libertad de expresión ya es algo evidente, porque mientras los demócratas, con todos sus errores, siguen siendo el partido que sí está defendiendo el derecho a hablar y a protestar, Donald Trump utiliza el aparato del Estado ¿para qué? Para silenciar, para censurar. Y ahora vemos, para encarcelar. O sea, no estamos hablando de una cultura de cancel, ¿no? O que alguien deje de ver un programa de televisión porque ya no le gusta lo que dijo el comediante. Estamos hablando de utilizar la fuerza del gobierno federal para desaparecer protestas, para perseguir a estudiantes que se están manifestando contra el tema del genocidio en Gaza, para intimidar a quienes escriben columnas de opinión. Imaginen eso, señores, hasta ese punto. Ya no es política, eso ya es una represión. Y si los demócratas no entienden la magnitud de lo que está sucediendo, si es que no le plantan cara con fuerza ante esta guerra contra la libertad de expresión, amigos, van a estar entregando en bandeja de oro el futuro de la democracia. Ahora bien, señores, todo el que se asocia con Donald Trump, hay que decir las cosas como son, todo el que se asocia con el trumpismo, termina tarde o temprano siendo traicionado por él. Algunos lo aprenden por experiencia, que ya estuvieron en su primer mandato. Otros simplemente lo ven con los ojos escuchan con los oídos y un poco de sentido crítico. Y se dan cuenta, Donald Trump es un estafador. Pero los que están dentro de este culto no pueden entenderlo. Y es más, ellos viven en carne propia lo que significa ser usado y luego ser descartado. Parece que en esta ocasión esa suerte le toca a Kash Patel. Pues una filtración desde el propio mundo MAGA sugiere que su tiempo en el FBI podría estar llegando rápidamente a su fin. Antes de explicarles cómo Trump podría estar a punto de darle la espalda, empecemos con lo que ya lo tendría hundido hace tiempo, y es su descarada utilización política del FBI. Y para esto Tim Miller lo ha explicado de esta manera.
Well, it's definitely intimidation, and I think that it's not just intimidating Chris Christie, though, or trying to, but intimidate other people who might speak out about this. And look, Trump is good at a few certain things. He's good at an insult that you saw there. He's good at picking unsympathetic foes. Like there's not a huge base of goodwill for Chris Christie or John Bolton, frankly, and I think that Trump knows that. But like the scary part about this is that in both of these cases, like these are long, unless there's something new about John Bolton, I don't think there's any reason to. I think people assume that this is related to the book investigation from a few years ago. But these are old cases that they're bringing back up just to go after political foes and to send a message to people that they shouldn't speak out against this administration, or they might use, the Justice Department, the federal government, to go after them. And maybe that won't mean an actual indictment, but being investigated, having your house raided while your wife is there in the morning, like that is punishment in itself. Having to get lawyers, having to defend yourself, that's a punishment in itself. They're doing it purposefully. And I think this goes without saying based on that video you showed, Katie, but just to be explicit about it, there's no imaginable way if John Bolton or Chris Christie had stayed in Donald Trump's good graces and supported him in 2024, that their house would be raided in the case of John Bolton, or that Trump would be floating an investigation against them. He's not doing this to Mark Meadows or the other people from Trump 1.0 who have stayed loyal to him. And so it's obviously on its face a political attack and an intimidation tactic.
Kash Patel programó de manera deliberada esta redada en contra de John Bolton justo el mismo día en el cual salían a la luz archivos de Epstein y las grabaciones de Ghislaine Maxwell. Obviamente podemos darnos cuenta, con un poquito de sentido crítico, que fue una maniobra diseñada para desviarnos la atención, darle este aire a Trump, en medio de un escándalo que lo tiene en contra de las cuerdas. Todo esto tiene un límite, obvio. En Chicago, el gobernador J.B. Pritzker ya denunció públicamente cómo es que Trump está utilizando estas tácticas autoritarias mientras la maquinaria MAGA intenta aparentar fuerza.
Finally, to the Trump administration officials who are complicit in this scheme, to the public servants who have forsaken their oath to the Constitution to serve the petty whims of an arrogant little man, to any federal official who would come to Chicago and try to incite my people into violence as a pretext for something darker and more dangerous, we are watching and we are taking names.
La realidad es que pese a los grandes discursos, yo sé que nunca pasa nada. Prometen ir en contra de Obama, prometen ir en contra de Hillary, James Comey, bueno, ahora John Bolton. Al final es puro humo. Solo son distracciones para mantener ocupada esta base, seguir estafándola. Pero en este momento de desesperación para muchos, Donald Trump necesita lo más que solo palabras vacías. Y justo ahí es donde entra este rumor de lo que podría ser un chivo expiatorio. Nada menos que Alex Jones, el famoso conspiranoico número 1, advirtió que si Kash Patel y Pam Bondi no empiezan a producir, digamos entre comillas, resultados, Donald Trump podrá despedirlos en cuestión de meses. Literalmente dijo esto: Pam Bondi y Kash Patel estarán fuera del Departamento de Justicia y del FBI en 6 meses si no hay acusaciones. Punto. Los americanos quieren acción, quieren retribución. Y aunque Alex Jones sea una especie de lunático, porque es la realidad, señores, hay que tomar en cuenta esto. Él sí está muy conectado con los MAGA, con todo ese círculo. Y lo que dice refleja el clima interno, que esta base quiere sangre. Y Trump tiene que ofrecerles algo. El problema es que Kash Patel no es más que un oportunista, porque su rol es simple. Siempre ha sido complacer a Trump y utilizar el poder para sus fines. Pero también aprovechar la plataforma, ¿no? Al igual que otros propagandistas magas, que hay varios, terminan sacando millones de sus seguidores ¿con qué? Con falsas medicinas, que pócimas milagrosas, que teorías de apocalipsis. Señores, yo sé que tal vez muchos de ustedes no lo saben porque no están dentro de ese círculo, pero es una realidad, amigos. Es un negocio. Y Kash Patel lo sabe muy bien. Si no entregan victorias que Trump pueda vender, entonces no hay ninguna razón para mantenerlo cerca. Donald Trump siempre encuentra otro fanático, otro obediente, otro fiel. Y Kash Patel sería descartado como tantos otros. Lo que estamos viendo es que Trump necesita distraer, necesita intimidar, necesita un sacrificio dentro de su propio círculo para poder desviar la atención de lo que realmente lo persigue, que es esta relación con Jeffrey Epstein, el fracaso de su agenda, la resistencia cada vez mayor en estados azules, California, Illinois, donde gobernadores como J.B. Pritzker, como Gavin Newsom, le están plantando cara.
Earlier today in the Oval Office, Donald Trump looked at the assembled cameras and asked for me personally to say, Mr. President, can you do us the honor of protecting our city? Instead, I say, Mr. President, do not come to Chicago. You are neither wanted here nor needed here. Your remarks about this effort over the last several weeks have betrayed a continuing slip in your mental faculties and are not fit for the auspicious office that you occupy. Most alarming, you seem to lack any appropriate concern as our commander-in-chief for the members of the military that you would so callously deploy as pawns in your ever more alarming grabs for power. As a governor, I've had to make the decision in the past to call up members of the National Guard into active service. And I think it's worth taking a moment to reflect on how seriously I take that responsibility and on the many things that I consider before asking these brave men and women to leave their homes and their communities to serve in any capacity for us. As I've said many times in the past, members of the National Guard are not trained to serve as law enforcement. They are trained for the battlefield, and they're good at it. They're not trained to arrest people and read them their Miranda rights. They did not sign up for the National Guard to fight crime. And when we call them into service, we are reaching into local communities and taking people who have jobs and families away from their neighborhoods and the people who rely upon them. It is insulting to their integrity and to the extraordinary sacrifices that they make to serve in the Guard, to use them as a political prop where they could be put in situations where they will be at odds with their local communities, the ones that they seek to serve. I know Donald Trump doesn't care about the well-being of the members of our military, but I do. And so do all the people standing here. Public safety has been among our highest priorities since taking office. We have hired more police and given them more funding. We banned assault weapons, ghost guns, bump stocks, and high-capacity magazines. We invested historic amounts into community violence intervention programs. We listened to our local communities, to the people who live and work in the places that are most affected by crime, and asked them what they needed to help make their neighborhoods safer. Those strategies have been working. Crime is dropping in Chicago. Murders are down 32% compared to last year and nearly cut in half since 2021. Shootings are down 37% since last year and 57% from 4 years ago. Robberies are down 34% year over year. Burglaries down 21%. Motor vehicle thefts down 26%. So in case there was any doubt as to the motivation behind Trump's military occupations, take note. 13 of the top 20 cities in homicide rate have Republican governors. None of these cities is Chicago. 8 of the top 10 states with the highest homicide rates are led by Republicans. None of those states is Illinois. Memphis, Tennessee, Hattiesburg, Mississippi have higher crime rates than Chicago, and yet Donald Trump is sending troops here and not there.
Ese es el camino para los demócratas. Utilizar cada ataque de Trump como una plataforma para mostrar que su narrativa es falsa, mientras los estados rojos se hunden en delincuencia y la mala calidad de vida, Donald Trump sigue mintiendo a su gente. Como Kash Patel, se convierten en piezas desechables de un juego autoritario. La pregunta ya no es si Kash Patel caerá, sino cuándo decidirá Trump que le conviene sacrificarlo para salvarse a sí mismo. Muchísimas gracias, señores, por acompañarme hasta el final de este video. Recuerden, como siempre, apóyame con tu like, comparte nuestro contenido y suscríbete a nuestro canal. Nos vemos en el próximo video. Hasta luego.